Good evening. Hello. Good evening, good morning, hi. How are you today? Are you ready for a story? Hello there, Highway. The pink that you can see right now, talking, and the illustration was made by Highway. So thank you, Highway, again. Fair warning, I can't look too much at the chat since I'm going to read. I'm actually going to read. I have an actual book that I was looking for today for an hour, and I found it in my tingle box. I put it in my tingle box so I can find it later. So of course I forgot it was there. Can you let me know if a fire is too strong? If I should put my fire down, or is it okay? Thank you, Azriel. Yes, book time. So, I have, I bought a book collected Slavic stories from Russia, Bohemia, Serbia, and Poland. And today I'm reading a Russian one. Story of Vasilisa with the golden dress. I have no idea what dress is. And of Ivan the P. And I do not know this. Can you hear the book? Oh, sounds. Okay. You know what? Let me take a sip before, because my throat is not the best today. Hello. Okay. So, many years ago, there lived a very celebrated Tsar. He had 2 sons and a beautiful daughter. This daughter lived in a high tower until she was 20 years of age. She was much beloved by the... I'm sorry. I have to find the way to sit with the book. It's the first time I'm reading live. Okay. This daughter lived in a high tower until she was 20 years of age. She was much beloved by the Tsar and Tsarina and was a great favorite with her nurses and waiting women. But not a single prince or knight had seen her, as she was never allowed to leave the tower or to breathe the air of freedom. Her name was Vasilisa with the golden dress. Can anyone tell me what dress is? I should have looked it up before, but I have no idea. Hello, salad. Oh, okay. Really? News flies quickly over the wide world. Many tsars, hearing of the princess' beauty, sent ambassadors to her father with offers of marriage. The Tsar was in no hurry, but when the proper time arrived, he sent messengers to all parts of the world to announce that the Princess Vasilisa would select the husband, and therefore invited Tsars and princes to his court. Then he went to the tower and told the beautiful Vasilisa what he had done. The princess was greatly pleased, and looking through the golden bars of her chamber on to the beautiful garden full of flowers, she asked permission to go there with her maids to play. "Father," she said, "I have never seen God's world, nor walked on the grass, nor among the flowers, nor have I ever seen your royal palace. Allow me to play in the garden with my nurses and maids." The Tsar gave his permission at once. The beautiful Vasilisa descended from the high tower and went into the courtyard. Descended. The door was opened, and the princess found herself in a green meadow with gradually roses. Gradually rose to a steep hill. The hill was covered with trees and the meadow with many colored flowers. The princess plucked the lovely flowers as she went on and ran a little in advance of her attendants. All at once there arose a strong wind, such as was neither known nor heard of before. Such a wind as was never remembered. Never remembered by the oldest people. It blew a perfect hurricane. In a moment, the wind lifted the princess up and carried her away. The attendant screamed. I said it so without emotion. The attendant screamed. Some ran away in terror. Others looked helplessly around them and saw how the wind bore the beautiful Vasilisa with the golden dress out of their sight. It carried her over many countries and deep rivers, through 3 kingdoms into a 4th, which belonged to a terrible dragon. The woman ran into the palace and, falling on their knees before the Tsar, cried piteously, "Have mercy and do not punish us. The wind has carried away our light, the beautiful Vasilisa with the golden dress. We know not whither." And they told him all that had happened. The Tsar was very angry with them and deeply grieved at the loss of his daughters. Nevertheless, he forgave them all. On the following morning, the foreign princess arrived, and seeing what grief was depicted on the Tsar's attendant countenance, they inquired the cause of it. Some words I will stumble because I don't know what they mean. "Woe is me," cried the unhappy Tsar. "The wind has carried away my dear daughter Vasilisa with the golden dress, and I know not whither she has gone." And he told them all that had happened. When the princess heard the story, they thought the Tsar had changed his mind and no longer wished his daughter to marry. They, therefore, hastened into the tower formerly occupied by the princess and searched everywhere, but could not find her. The Tsar dismissed his visitors with all due honor and gave a rich present to each of them. They mounted their horses and returned to their countries. The two young princes, brothers of Vasilisa, seeing the tears of their father and mother, said to them, "Father and you, mother, give us your blessing and permit us to go in search of your daughter and our sister." "My dear sons," cried the afflicted Tsar, "where would we go?" "We will go, father, in every direction, whether the road will take us, where the birds fly, and our eyes will guide us. Perhaps we shall find her." The Tsar blessed them, and the Tsarina made everything ready for their journey. They all wept at parting, and then the princess set forth for their search. But whether they would have to travel near or far, whether for a long or a short time, the princess knew not. They traveled 1 year. They traveled for 2 years. And they passed through the 3 kingdoms. Then, at a distance, they could see dark, high mountains, and among them a sandy wilderness. It was the country of the dragon. The princess asked everywhere of those who passed by. "Oh, thank you, Asriel. Thank you for your donation." They asked, "Have you heard or seen where the Princess Vasilisa with the golden dress is?" Everywhere the people answered, "We have neither seen nor heard where she is." Having thus replied, they went on their way. The Princess approached a large town on the road. They saw an old, lame man on crutches. Old lame man on crutches, carrying a wallet, who asked them for alms. The princess stopped, gave him some silver money, and inquired whether he had seen or heard of the Princess Vasilisa, the unveiled beauty with the golden dress. "My young friends," answered the old Tsar, "nice you are wonders from the foreign land. Our Tsar, the dragon, has forbidden us to talk with strangers. We may not tell to anyone that the wind has brought a beautiful princess to this town." When the princess heard that their sister was so near to them, they spurred their flagging steeds and galloped to the palace. It was truly a palace. It stood on a single silver pillar and was made all of pure gold. The roof which covered it was of precious stones. The stairs leading to the entrance door spread out like the wings, but ran into one at the top. They were made of rare pearls. At the moment the beautiful Vasilisa was looking out of a window with golden bars, and recognizing her brothers, she screamed with delight. She then ordered them to be secretly admitted. Happily, the dragon was away, as the princess was greatly afraid. At least, he should see them. But no sooner had the princess come in than the silver pillar began to groan, the stairs to spread out, the roof to sparkle, and the whole castle to tremble and to turn round. "The dragon is coming," cried the terrified princess. At his approach, the palace turns round and round. "Hide, brothers, hide." No sooner had she uttered these words than the dragon rushed hissing in, and demanded in a terrible voice, "Who is here?" "We are here," answered the princess furiously. "We have come for our sister Vasilisa." I don't know why. It's so funny for me. "Oh-ho!" cried the dragon, flapping his wings. "Since you have come to take your sister away, it will not be for nothing if I kill you. But, although you are the brothers of Vasilisa, you are no very terrible knights." And hissing and roaring, he seized one of the brothers with his wings and hurled him against the other. The courtiers came in, took up the dead prince. What? What? No, they died? Oh, I can't see that. What happened? Hello, lonely driver. I'm being confused with the story. I did not expect the princess to die. What happened? No, there is more. It's a long one. I picked a long one. Okay, so... Roaring, he seized one of the brothers with his wings and hurled him against the other. The courtiers came in, took up the dead princess, and threw them into a deep ditch. Okay. The princess burst into tears. Vasilisa would neither eat, nor drink, nor look upon the beautiful world around her. 3 days thus passed away, but as she did not die, her resolution failed her, and she determined to live. She regretted to lose her beauty. She listened to the calls of hunger, and on the 4th day took some food. The princess now began to think how she might possibly escape from the dragon. One day, she said to him coaxingly, "Dear dragon, your strength is great. Your wings are far-spreading and powerful. Can no one withstand you?" "My time is not yet come," said the dragon. "It was written at the hour of my birth that the only being who could withstand me would be even the bee, grown up from a bee." The dragon laughed as he said this, not anticipating such an antagonist. The strong put confidence in their strength. But what is said in jest will sometimes become a truth. Meanwhile, the Tsarina sorrowed for the loss of her daughter and her 2 sons. How did she know though? One day she went with her ladies-in-waiting into the garden to try to amuse herself. It was hot, and the Tsarina became very thirsty. In the garden there was a beautiful well of spring water, flowing into a white marble basin. The Tsarina dipped a golden cup into the basin and, drinking hastily, swallowed the pea with the water. In the course of time, the Tsarina had a son, and he was called Ivan the Bee. He grew up, not by years, but by hours. He was a handsome boy, strong and plump, full of spirit and play, ever laughing and springing on the sand, and daily increasing in strength. At 10 years of age, Ivan the Bee was a tall, powerful knight. He asked, thank you. I forgot what I was going to call your neck. Thank you, 47. This will be it. Thank you. Good night, if you're going to sleep. He asked whether he had any sisters or brothers. And upon hearing that his sister Vasilisa had been carried away by the wind, and that his 2 brothers who went to seek her had never returned, he begged his parents to permit him to go, also in search of them all. "My dear son," cried the Tsar and Tsarina, "you are still too young. Your brothers went away and never returned. If you never leave us, you also will be lost. Wait, if you leave us, you also will be lost." "No," answered Ivan the Bee, "I shall not be lost. I desire of all things to find my brothers and sister." Poor brothers. His parents endeavored to dissuade him from going, but all in vain. At last they gave their consent, blessed him with tears in their eyes, and bade him adieu. Ivan the Bee set forth on his journey. He travelled for 1 day, he travelled for 2. Towards evening he entered a gloomy forest. In this forest there was a hut on Hen's leg. Wait, is this Baba Yaga? No. In this forest there was a hut on Hen's legs, shaken by the wind and turning round and round. Following old custom and nursery tradition, Ivan blew upon it, saying, "Hut, hut, turn about, with your back to the forest and your front to me." The hut immediately turned itself round, with its front towards him. An old woman was looking out of the window, and she asked, "Whom have we here?" "It's her. It's Baby Yaga's grandmother." Ivan bowed to her and inquired whether she had observed which way the wind was in the habit of carrying beautiful girls. "Ah, my son," said the old woman, coughing and looking hard at Ivan, "the wind has troubled me dreadfully. It is now 120 years that I have lived in this hut. without ever once leaving it. It will kill me, my... my god. It will kill me someday. You must know, though, that it is not the wind that is involved, but the dragon. See, actually, a lot of people think that Baba Yaga is a villain, but sometimes she's actually a good character in those stories. A dragon? Which is the way to him, he asked. Take care, the dragon will swallow you up. We shall see. Be mindful of your head, good night, continued the old woman, shaking her toothless gums, and promise me that, if you return safely, you will bring me some of the water from the dragon's palace. In which, if I wash myself, I shall be made young again. I did not expect this tale to be actually this interesting. It is an extended universe. Oh no, I'm so sorry. What? Baba Yaga is Baba Yaga. Where was I? Yes, Bunk, I apologize. I promise I will bring you some of the water, grandmother. I take your word for it. And now, my dear son, go towards the sunset. After a year's journey, you will arrive at the Fox Mountain. Then ask the way to the Dragon's Kingdom. Farewell, grandmother. Farewell, my son. Why are they on such good terms? I adjusted my chair so I can. So maybe I will not bonk again. Even went towards the setting sun. A story is soon told, but the difficult work is not as soon completed. Having passed through 3 kingdoms, he arrived at the dragon's dominions. Before the gates of the city he saw an old, blind, and lame beggar with a wallet. Why did they write with a wallet? Having given the beggar some alms, even the bee asked him whether in the city there did not live a young princess called Vasilisa with the golden dress. Yes, said the beggar, but we are forbidden to tell of it. But you just told us. Upon hearing that his sister was indeed there, he even went at once to the palace. At that moment, the beautiful Vasilisa with the golden dress was watching for the coming of the dragon from the window. Seeing a young knight approaching, she sent to him secretly to learn his name, and to know whether he was not sent by her father or mother. When she heard that it was even her youngest brother, whom she had never seen before, the princess rushed out of the palace and called to him with tears in her eyes. Run, dearest brother, fly from this place. The dragon will soon be here and will kill you. Dear sister, I am not afraid of the dragon, nor of all his strength. Are you then the bee, and therefore able to withstand him? Wait a moment, sister. Let me have something to drink first. And what will you drink, brother? A bucket full of meat. Back to work? Be diligent. Good job. Good afternoon. Vasilisa ordered a bucket of meat to be brought in, and Ivan drank it in a draught, without even once stopping to take breath. He then asked for more. The surprised princess ordered some more meat to be brought in. "Now, brother," she said, "I believe that you are even the bee. Give me something to eat, dear sister, and then let me rest after my journey." So demanding, even. The princess then directed her servants to bring in a strong chair. Even sat down upon it, and it immediately broke. And it immediately broke into pieces. The attendants then brought another chair, still stronger, covered and joined together with iron. When Ivan sat down, it creaked and bent up under him. "Oh, brother," cried the princess, "this is the dragon's own seat." "It seems, then," said Ivan, smiling, "that I am heavier than he." What? He then got up, went to an old sage who was smith to the guard, and ordered an iron staff to be made, to weigh 500 pounds. Actually, it says pounds. I don't know what's that. How much pounds is it? The smith set to work, hammered the iron night and day, amid a shower of red-hot sparks, and in 40 hours finished the staff. It required the united strength of 50 men to bring it to the castle. Even the bee lifted it up with one hand and threw it into the air. The air whistled as the staff passed through and disappeared in the clouds. What? What's happening in the chat? Be nice. I am really confused what's happening in this story. The inhabitants ran from place to place, panic-stricken. They were afraid that the staff, falling down again, would crash their city into ruins, then roll into the sea, which would overflow and drown them all. Prince Ivan gave order that the people should let him know when the iron staff was seen falling again to the ground, and then went quietly into the palace. The terrified people fled away from the principal square. Some looked from the doors and windows to see whether the iron beam was about to descend. They waited 1, they waited 2 hours. At the end of the third, word was sent to the palace that the staff was coming down. Even the bee ran into the square, stretched out his hand, and caught the staff as it fell. It came down with such force that it bent in his hand. The prince straightened it on his knee and then returned to the castle. Suddenly, a dreadful hissing noise was heard. The dragon was coming. His horse, the wind, flew with the swiftness of an arrow, vomiting forth flames. At the first glance, the dragon looked like the knight, but his head was that of a dragon. Usually, at his approach, even if he was miles away, the palace would tremble and move from place to place. Now, the dragon observed for the first time that it did not stir. There must be a stranger within. The dragon paused in an instant, hissed and roared. His horse, the wind, shook his black mane and spread his monstrous wings. The dragon rushed to the palace, and the palace did not stir an inch. "Oh!" roared the dragon. "I have to do with enemy. Perhaps it is the bee." Prince Ivan soon approached. "I will put you in the palm of one hand, clap my other hand upon you, and crush you to atoms," cried the dragon. "We shall see," said Ivan, approaching with the staff. "Begone from my castle," roared the dragon in a fury. "Begone, you," answered Ivan, lifting up his staff. The dragon flew up in the air, that he might strike Prince Ivan and pierce him with his lance, but he missed his aim. The prince sprang aside and exclaiming, "It is now my turn," threw the staff at the dragon with such force that the blow broke and scattered him into 1,000 fragments. What the hell was that? Scattered him into 1,000 fragments. The staff pierced the earth and passed through 2 kingdoms into a third. The people threw up their caps with joy and chose Ivan to be their Tsar. But Ivan, as a reward for the sage smith, who in so short a time had made him such a staff, ordered the old man to be called before him and said to the people, "This is your Tsar. Obey him for good, as you once obeyed the dragon for evil." And then Ivan took some of the water of death and of the water of life and sprinkled them over the bodies of his brothers. The young men rose up and, rubbing their eyes, exclaimed, "Heaven knows how long we have slept." "My dear brothers," said Ivan, embracing them tenderly, "without my help you would have slept for ages." Ivan is so sassy. I can't believe. What about Yaga? Then Ivan took some of the water of the dragon, ordered a ship to be built, and sailing on the river Swan with the beautiful Vasilisa with the golden dress, he passed through 3 kingdoms into a 4th, his own country. There he is. He remembered the old woman in the hut and gave her some of the water. When the old woman had washed herself in it, she became young again. She sang and danced with joy and accompanied Prince Ivan on his journey. The Tsar and Tsarina recovered. I need to break. The Tsar and Tsarina received their son Ivan with great joy and honor. They sent messengers to all parts of the world, announcing that their daughter, the beautiful Vasilisa with the golden dress, had safely returned home. There were great rejoicing. Bells rang merrily, trumpets sounded, drums were beaten, guns were fired. Vasilisa obtained a husband, and Princess even a wife. What? Even the bees marrying Baba Yaga? At the marriage feast, there were mountains of meat and rivers of meat. They ordered 4 crowns to be made and celebrated 2 weddings at once. The great-grandfathers of our great-grandfathers were there. They drank of the meat and left some of it for us. But we have never tasted it. This, however, we heard, that after the death of the Tsar, even the bee ascended to the throne, ruled the people with great glory, and the fame of Tsar the bee has been remembered from generation to generation. I am shocked. I want to know more about Prince Ivanin. They did not call her Baba Yaga, but we know it was her. Okay, I will pick something new and take a sippy. Or maybe you will pick. There is a lot of short ones. I will just try a short one and see. Because I'm curious how interesting are short ones. Because this one was very interesting. And I did not suspect. Okay, I will pick this time. I will read the Black Omen. Here. And let me take a sippy for a minute and I'll be right back. This one is short and it's Polish. And the title, The Black Omen. I'm not drinking vodka. I wish. I wish, trust me. A peasant, having lost his wife and children by the plague, fled from his desolate hut and sought refuge in the forest. He wandered about the whole day. Towards evening, he made out a hut of branches, lit a fire, and being tired soon fell asleep. It was already past midnight when he was awakened by a great noise. He jumped up and listened. He could hear at a distance merry songs, accompanied by the music of drums and pipes. He was greatly surprised at these rejoicings, especially when he remembered that the plague was depopulating the country. The music approached, and the terror-stricken peasant saw Omen advancing through a wide road. Omen consisted of a number of spectres of the most extraordinary shapes and kinds. Omen is like it's a creature. You will see. In the midst of them was a high, black wagon, on the top of which sat the black. The ghastly company increased at every step, for almost everything they met on the road changed into a spectre and followed the rest. The peasant's fire was nearly out. There remained only a good size, half-burned stem. As soon as Omen approached, the firebrand stood up, spread out 2 arms from its sides, and the red embers changed into 2 shining eyes. I am distracted by the music, so I turn it down. I think you mean the Omen. I am honestly not sure. Omen. How to spell H-O-M-E-N. H-O-M-E-N, Omen. E, not A. I feel like I'm a spelling bee contest. Which is a... No, it's a Omen. Omen, not a human. Omen. Okay, you're forcing me to type. Omen. Yeah, I know you're doing this on purpose. As soon as Omen approached, the firebrand stood up, spread out 2 arms from its sides, and the red embers changed into 2 shining eyes. It joined at once the train of a black and began also to sing. The peasant was thunderstruck, almost beside himself with terror. He seized his axe and tried to strike the nearest spectre, but the axe fell from his hand, and he was immediately changed into the shape of a tall woman. She shook her head, she shook her dark hair before his eyes, joined the trunk and began also to sing. Omen passed on. The astonished peasant saw how trees, bushes, even owls and other night birds assumed various forms and swallowed the horrible company, the dreadful harbinger of widespread death. He fell senseless on the ground. On the ground, in the morning, when the warm sun awakened him, he found that all he had brought with him was broken to pieces. His goods spoiled, his clothes torn. He knew at once that it was nothing else than Omen who had done him so much injury, and thanking heaven that at least his life was spared, he went further on his search of food and shelter, and this is the end. The end. So this is the end. He went further in search of food and shelter. Yes, I did not expect. Sad. Let's see what Bohemian story is like. Litushka and the Water Demon's Wife. Litushka. Oh man. Never have I heard a human. Oh, hello, Ocean Grey. Hello. I recognize you. Thank you for the follow. Okay, let me type what I am reading now. For fuck's sake, I did the bonk again. I'm sorry. I have to put book. I'm sorry. I massage your ear now. Okay. Story. Oh, wait. I am on the wrong page. What the hell am I doing? Litushka. Litushka and the water demon wife. Such an interesting part of the stream, I know. There. Oh, beautiful. My chat keeps disappearing. Ah, never mind. You are just quiet. It's okay. Okay, Litushka and the Water Demon's Wife from the Bohemian. In a certain place lived a young housewife whose name was Litushka. One day, as she was washing linen in a rivulet, I have no idea what a rivulet is, a large, swollen frog swam towards her, looking so ugly that Litushka, alarmed at the sight of it, jumped back a pace or two. Okay, housemaster. I don't know if that is necessary to mention. You great? No. Stream, okay. It's okay. Hello, Tratis. Old Tratis Spiller, hello. I can't get over the fact that she had to run away because there was an ugly frog. Oh, and also kindred spirit. Hello. Thank you for coming, kindred spirit. You distracted me. Oh. Yes. I know. I'm sorry. Housemaster. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. The ugly-looking frog approached nearly to the spot where Litushka had just begun washing. Spread its legs out on the top of the water, and opening its mouth as if it wished to say something, stood perfectly still. You great, fat frog, said Litushka to herself. What do you want here, and why do you open your mouth at me so? Sassy, Litushka. She then threw a piece of linen that she had happened to have in her hand at the frog, wishing to drive it away that she might go on with her washing. The frog dived, and before Litushka had time to look about her, it reappeared at the other side of the water and began to swim directly towards her. Litushka again drove it away, but the frog could persist in swimming towards her. Opening its mouth all the time, it would not be driven away, but continued to interrupt her in her work. Go away, you great, fat thing, cried Litushka at last, quite angrily. Let me know when you have got your baby, and I will come and be its Let me know when you have got your baby, and I will come and be its godmother. And she threw another piece of linen at the frog. Is this some kind of... It is? I will become his grandmother. I mean godmother. So strange. Very, very good, growled the frog. Then it disappeared under the water and disturbed Litushka no more at her washing. Why linen? She only had linen. What can you do? I need water. I can't believe I just read 2 stories and it's almost 2 hours. How? It was very short. Why did she promise the frog that? Why? Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't look for logic in fairy tales. I forgot. Not long afterwards, Litushka came again to the rivulet to wash her linen at the usual place. When suddenly, the same frog she had before seen, only that it was much thinner now, swam towards her. Its frog is now handsome, for some reason. I have got my children's now, and I forgot to turn the music down. Silly pig. I have got my children now, creaked the frog. I have come to ask you to be their godmother as you promised. Litushka remembered that she had said, not long before, that if the frog had a little one, and would let her know, she would be its godmother. She, therefore, although alarmed, did not refuse to do what she had once promised. But you silly thing, said Litushka, full of anxiety. Where am I to go? With you to gravity, to gratify your wish, and to fulfill my promise. Come, 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 crowed the frog, spreading out its legs and swimming on the water. The promised godmother followed it sorrowfully along the bank of the rivulet. Do you really like the word rivulet? The frog swam on until it came to a dam, when it stopped and groped. Fear not, fear not. Remove the stone, and under you will see a flight of stairs. They will lead you down to my house. Come, come, I will go before you. Having thus croaked, the frog disappeared under water, and the good-natured Litushka saw no other way to get out of her trouble than simply to do what the frog told her. Hello, honey badger. She removed the stone and saw that there was really a flight of stairs leading under the dam. There were most wonderful stairs, neither of wood nor of stone, but as if made of the purest crystal, clear and transparent, like layers of water placed one below the other. You fall asleep? Good. Good. Go back to sleep if you want. Litushka went timidly down a few steps. When the frog appeared, hopping and croaking joyfully before her, because she was about to fulfill her promise of becoming godmother to its little ones. Litushka, without further hesitation, descended the remainder of the beautiful steps. Then she reached the object they had in view, the frog's house. It also was built entirely of crystal water, like the stairs, but which they had gone down, was the whole house. Bright, sparkling, and transparent as crystal. The frog, full of joy, hopped about Litushka and took her to the little ones. When the ceremony was over, Litushka, in fulfillment of her promise, having taken her part in it as a godmother, a splendid entertainment followed, to which many frogs from far and near had been invited. They all hopped about Litushka and crowed with great joy. This is so cute. There were various courses, boiled and pickled, roast and fried, but they all consisted of fish, the finest carp, jack, cod, trout, whiting, perch. What's a fish? Perch. And many other fish, which Litushka did not even know by name. She was amazed at the sight of all of this. At dinner at the end, she took a walk about the house to see everything more closely. In the course of her walk, she came to a small room, which looked like the kitchen. It was full of long shelves, and on the shelves 2 rows of little jars. Litushka was much surprised when she noticed that all the jars stood upside down. She was curious to know what was under them and lifted one up. In a moment, a little white dove flew up from under it, joyfully fluttered his wings, rose up, and disappeared. Litushka lifted another jar, and oh, wonderful! There flew another one. It joyfully fluttered its wings and disappeared. Then Litushka lifted a 3rd jar, and a 3rd white dove flew out of it, fluttered its wings with joy, rose up in the air, and vanished from her sight. She wondered greatly why these little doves were here confined. For heaven has given an immortal soul to man, that he may live forever, and wings to the birds, that they may fly freely over the earth. Again, such a weird story, honestly. Oh, how cruel, said Litushka to herself, to keep you here in everlasting darkness. Wait a moment, you dear little doves, and I will give you all your liberty. Good night, Pink Jason, good night. And on that note, I need another break. Yep, I need another break to go to the loo. I will release some water and be back. Brandy! It was what a perfect time to donate. I was just smoking out. Thank you, Brandy. Thank you. Yeah, it's really cute, but it's very weird. It seems to be a following theme for those stories. Eh, not complaining. Okay, be right back. I'm back. I just realized there is no VTuber found and I got donations, so it would be nice to see the progress. Okay. From a quick glance, all stories are strange, so do not worry. This goal is a little higher than needed, probably. I don't know. But I want the pink VTuber, so saving everything. Okay. Let's go back to the business. I have to find the place when I ended. Okay. Thus saying, she began to raise the little jars, one after another. Then, as from the first three, there flew from each successive jar a live dove. As if wishing to thank her for their release from their dark prison, each of them fluttered wings with joy, then rose up and disappeared into the air. Scarcely had Litushka finished lifting up the little jars when the mistress of the house, the yucky-looking frog, hopped up to her, croaking in the most dismal manner. She could see from afar what Litushka was doing with the little jars. "Unhappy woman," cried the frog, "why did you let those souls free? Quick, make haste, and fly. Search for a lump of dry earth or a piece of toasted bread. There comes my husband. Quick, or he will rob you of your soul." Daisy! Thank you, Daisy, for the follow. Hello! Hi! Okay, so Frog Wife is ugly but has a good heart, apparently. It's okay. At least I knew you dropped by this way. Okay. When the amidable Litushka heard this dreadful croaking, she turned round to see what quarter the husband was coming, and she could see nothing of him. Only at the distance she observed a few buds of a beautiful red water plant floating towards her on top of the water. What happened with my other notifications? Hello? Okay, they are back in their place. What happens now? Only at the distance she observed a few buds of a beautiful red water plant floating towards her on top of the water. Suddenly, she remembered what she had often heard before, that the water demon sometimes showed himself on the surface of the water in the shape of a cluster of red flowers. That's good to know. He does this especially to young girls, as they are haymaking near a stream or pond, to induce them to try to reach the flowers with their rakes. He then pulls them in and drowns them. Litushka dashed up to the stairs as fast as she could run, and fortunately reached to the dry land in time. She was overjoyed at having released all the little white doves. They were the souls of the unfortunate people whom the water demon had drawn into his power, and had cruelly drowned. Each soul had been kept in a separate dark prison in the shape of a little jar. Litushka was the deliverer of them all. Believe it or not, but this is the end. Well, she got away. Yes, apparently the frog was a water demon. Well, it's called Litushka and the water demon's wife, so yep. So strange. Let's read at least one more. I can let you pick this name. Hi, Victor Paul Shusey. How are you doing? Okay. I will pick something that you will get a sense of what it's about. The Book of Magic, Short Ration, Fairy Tale, or The Maiden Who Was Swifter Than the Horse. Let's pick between those ones. Maybe The Maiden because it's Serbian. We didn't read any Serbian fairy tale yet. But if you're not asleep, you can let me know. But if you don't care, I will read the Serbian. Your boyfriend is Serbian? Wow. You'll now learn. Well, we will not learn anything that would help. Those stories are very strange. Okay. Serbian. But need to do the thingy. The maiden who was swifter than the horse. I'm good. Maiden. No. That was swifter than a horse. It already sounds well, you know how it sounds. Ah, stay here. It's for future reference. Okay, the maiden who was swifter than the horse. From the Serbian. There was once a maiden who had neither father nor mother, for the villas had formed her out of snow, brought at midsummer, on St. Helia's Day, from a bottomless cleft in the rock. The wind had fanned her into life, the dew had nourished her, the forest had clothed her hair, had clothed her with its leaves, and the meadows adorned her with the flowers. She was whiter than the snow, rosier than the rose, brighter than the sun, and more beautiful than any maiden who had ever been upon the earth, or ever will be again. So beautiful. The Virgin let it be known throughout the wide world that on a certain day, in a center place, a race would be run. And that whether youth, riding on horseback, should overtake her, would win her. This news spread in a few days throughout the whole world, and thousands of suitors came together, all mounted on such splendid steeds that you would not know how to say which one was handsomer or better than the other. Even the son of the Tsar came to the race. The suitors drew themselves up in a line, on horseback, side by side, but the Virgin took her place on foot in the middle of them. Then she spoke. There, at the winnings post, I have set up a golden apple. If one among many you can reach, meet before me and take it. I will be his. But should I be first at the goal and take the apple, know that this is so weirdly written, I'm sorry. Know ye that all who run against me will sink dead on the earth. Think well, therefore, what ye do. But the riders well, as if enchanted. Each one hoped to win the maiden, and they said one to the other, No, I wouldn't be able to translate on the go. I can barely read in English, as you can tell. It's a book in English. Yeah, it's like old English, which I do not like, because those are Slavic stories, and why do they make them like it's old English? I don't know, maybe it makes sense. Doesn't make much sense to me anyway. Well, it is clear at the outset that this maiden on foot will never be able to outrun us, but that one among us, whom God and good fortune shall bless, will bear her home. Then, as the maiden clapped her hands together, they all sprang forwards up the course. By the time they had run half the distance, the maiden had already outstripped them by a long way, for she had unfolded small wings from below her shoulders. Then the riders shouted to each other, and spurred and whipped their horses until they overtook her. When the maiden saw this, she plucked the hair out of her head and threw it before her. In an instant, a dense wood arose, in which the riders lost themselves for a time, not knowing which way to turn. At last, they came upon her track and rushed after her at full speed. Meanwhile, the maiden had greatly gained upon them, but they whipped and spurred their horses and overtook her at once. And when the maiden saw that, she was so closely pressed, a tear fell from her eye, which soon became a rapid stream, in which the riders were nearly drowned. One of them all, the son of the Tsar alone, by swimming his horse across the flood, was able to follow her footsteps. As he saw that the maiden was far on before him, she invoked her 3 times in the name of God to stop, and she stood still in that place where she was. Then he seized her and drew her on the saddle behind, and swimming back on dry land, turned his horse through the mountain pass towards home. But when he reached the highest point and turned around to look at her, the maiden had vanished. The end. I thought it. Well, again, I expect them to either to die or hair to be taken. Okay. Okay, let's read one more. One more book. Well, one more story, but the title is The Book of Magic. And it's irrational. And it's short, so it will be, again, super strange. Hello, Kalodi. Thank you. Is it hot in Brazil now? The Book of Magic. Sounds straightforward, but I don't believe. It's cold? Really? I like those sounds. What? Are you joking? The Book of Magic. A soldier was quartered in a certain town. He had taken to study the black art and had got possession of books which dealt therewith. One day, during his absence from his quarters, one of his comrades came to see him. Not finding him at home, the visitor took upon one of the soldier's books and for want of other occupation began to read it. It was in the evening and he read by the light of a lamp. The book was full of names and nothing else. He had read about half of the names when he raised his head and looking around him saw that the room was full of diabolical looking beings. The soldier was struck with terror and not knowing what to do, began again to read the book. Smart. After reading for some little time, he again looked around him. The number of spirits had increased. Again, he reads, and having finished the book, look again around him. By this time, the number of demons had so much increased that there was barely space for them in the room. They sat upon each other's shoulders and pressed continually forward round the reader. The soldier saw that the situation was serious. He shut the book, closed his eyes, and anxiously waited his comrade. The spirits pressed closer and closer upon him, crying, "Give us work to do, quick!" The soldier reflected a while and then said, "Fill up the cisterns of all the baths in the town with water, brought in a sieve." Yes, he kept reading. The demons flew away. In 2 minutes they returned and said, "It is done. Give us some more work to do, quick." And this is a Russian story. Pull the voivode's house down, brick by brick. But take care you do not touch or disturb the inmates. Then build it up again as it was before. The goblins disappeared, but in 2 minutes returned. It is done, they cried. Give us more work, quick. Go, said the soldier, and count the grains of sand that lie at the bottom of the Volga. The number of drops of water that are in the river, and of the fish that swim in it, from its source to its mouth. The spirits flew away, but in another 3 minutes they returned, having executed their task. Thus, before the soldier could think of some new labor to be done, the old one was completed, and the demons were again at his side demanding more work. Where he began to think what he should give them, they pressed around him and threatened him with instant death if he did not give them something to do. The soldier was becoming exhausted, and there was yet no sign of his comrade's return. What course should he take? How deliver himself from the evil spirits? The soldier thought to himself, while I was reading the book, no one of the demons came near me. Let me try read it again. Perhaps that will keep them off. Oh my god. I'm getting irritated at this guy. Again, he began to read the Book of Magic, but he soon observed that as he read the numbers of phantoms increased, so that soon such a host of the spirit world surrounded him that the very lamp was scarcely visible. When the soldier hesitated at the world, or paused to rest himself, the goblins became more restless and violent, demanding, "Give us work to do! Give us work to do!" The soldier was almost worn out, and unhappily knew not how to help himself. Suddenly, a thought occurred to him. The spirit appeared when I read the book from the beginning. Let me now read it from the end. Perhaps this will send them away. Good job, finally. This one is a little bit silly. Big brain. He turned the book around and began to read it from the end. After reading for some time, he observed that the number of spirits decreased. The lamp began again to burn brightly, and there was an empty space around him. The soldier was delighted and continued his reading. He read and read until he had read them all away, and thus he saved himself from the demons. His comrades came in soon afterwards. The soldier told him what had happened. "It is fortunate for you," said his comrade, "that you began to read the book backwards in time. Had you not thus read them away by midnight, they would have devoured you." Reading is dangerous, it seems. At least in Russia. Yes, how does he not know? A silly. I want to read it. I want to still read something. What is shirt? that one. Janeczek and the water demon. Janek Twardowski, Madei, the long-desired child. 3 brothers. I know 3 brothers. Let's do Handicraft above everything. Serbian again. Handicraft above everything. Handicraft above. I will soon need more. I read faster than I expected. Okay. Handicraft above everything. A king with his wife and daughter once made a pleasure trip upon the sea. When they had sailed some distance from the shore, a storm arose which drove the ship under a foreign land, where both the king and his kingdom were quite unknown, and of which land they themselves had never before heard. I tend to read fast, but it's always slower when it's allowed, right? Upon gaining the shore, the king did not dare tell of his rank, and as he had no money and was ignorant of any handicraft or other means by which he could support himself and his family, he was obliged to hire himself as a keeper of village cattle. After living some years in this way, the son of the king of the country fell in love with the herdsman's daughter, who was now well grown and beautiful. The prince told his parents that he would never marry any other maiden than the daughter of the cattle keeper. Cattle keeper? Who's that cattle keeper? He would never marry any other maiden than the daughter of the cattle keeper of that village. Father, mother, and all the courtiers endeavored to dissuade him from this curse, saying that, for him, he could choose a partner from among imperial and royal princesses. To take the daughter of a herdsman for his wife would be a shame and disgrace. But, all in vain, the prince only replied, "Either this maiden or none." When they all saw that nothing else was to be done, one of the counselors was sent to the cattle herald to tell him that the king had chosen his daughter to become the wife of his own son. The counselor made his way to the herd and told him of the king's decision. But the village cattle keeper demanded of him, "What handicraft that the kings don't understand?" Upon which the messenger disgusted made answer, "Heaven be with you, old man. What should the prince know of a handicraft? People only learn handicraft to support themselves. But the king's son possesses countries and cities. But the cattle herd simply replied, "That may be, but unless he understands some handicraft, I cannot give him my daughter." Then went the counselor home again and told the king what the cattle keeper had said, at which the whole court was perfectly astonished. No, I cannot speak Spanish. Astonished. People had believed that it would have been the herd's greatest joy and pride that the king's son should take his daughter to wife. And here he was asking what trade the prince understood. The king sent a second counselor, but the cattle herd made him the same answer. So long as the king's son has not learned the handicraft and cannot bring to me some of his own work as proof of his knowledge, he and I can never become closer friends. But what about the woman? What does she think? When this counselor also returned and informed the king that the cattle keeper herd was not willing to give his daughter to the prince until he had learned some handicraft. However, simple it might be, the prince went himself forth to find out among the different workshops what trade would be the easiest to learn. As he went from shop to shop and saw the various masters worked at, he came upon one where work people were busy planting rush mats, plating rush mats, and as that appeared to him to be the latest of all handicrafts, he set about to learn it and at once. And when in a few days he had learned to work, he plaited the rush mat all by himself, which a messenger took to the cattle herd and explained that the prince had already learned the handicraft and that the rush mat was a piece of his own work. The cattle herd took the mat in his hand and looking at it on all sides demanded, "How much is this worth?" Then they answered him, 4 paras. And I can see here, I don't know what paras is, but it's a small Turkish coin worth nothing less than a farthing. What's the farthing? Only 4 parats. Ah, he explained. Good. 4 paras today, 4 tomorrow, that makes 8, and 4 the day after tomorrow. That makes 12, and so on. If I had understood this handicraft, I should not be tending cattle this day. And then he took them who and what he was and how he had come here. Wait, I read it wrong. Then he told them who and what he was and how he had come there. They were all delighted when they learned that they had been wooing the daughter of a king and not of a cattle herd, and the marriage of the youth and the maiden took place amid the greatest rejoicings. Then they gave to the father of the bride a ship and a guard of warriors, and he went over the sea and reached his own kingdom. Dang it. Not my favorite one. this is it for today. Everything is quite straining. Oh, not all will be the winners. I had the frog and the maiden with the horse. No, but the best was with Baba Yaga. I will try to find out if there's more story to even in Baba Yaga. Because I'm curious. I need to know. I'm obsessed with Baba Yaga. If you do not know why, I have a ASMR play with Baby Yaga. And Baby Yaga is Baba Yaga's granddaughter. Yep. Thank you for coming. I hope you'll manage to relax. I will be saving this VOD and uploading on YouTube. Becoming Baba Yaga? Yes, maybe I should read It's Baby Yaga someday. Can we write? Is someone streaming ASMR? Bun is streaming ASMR. We can rate. And what can we say? Good night, Honey Badger, and good night, others. Yes, put on rating cut. Oh, Marjorie, we're here. Okay, we are going to... Wait, we need a message. I keep forgetting we need a message. Okay. I don't know why I thought of this. But if you could copy this and post on a Banban's stream. But hey, Banban is also Slavic, so she might expected it. Maybe she expected it. Okay. Starting now. Thank you again. I will read from time to time, but next time I will do a classic ASMR again. And it will be on Sunday. So see you soon on Sunday. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. See you on Sunday.